So here's what I mean when I say that Amazon is the most manipulated stock of all the high flyer stocks out there. And this is a classic um, signature for Amazon when it comes to manipulation. As you can see, today, like I said, is the monthly expiration for August. And I'm going to show you the daily chart. So, as last week on my last video, I was saying how Amazon at this key technical level, Amazon behaving technically at 38.2 on the Fibonacci, will test the 200. And on Monday, it did test the 200, far below it, and recover. Now, the whole market displayed this as well, meaning the NASDAQ also displayed a similar signature where it's a V-shaped recovery. And this V-shaped recovery essentially um, develop a tail. This is a doji tail, but it is a long tail, which is not the similar signal that you would see for a recovery candle. So this is suspicious, but it's still classified as a doji tail, which is a reversal, a huge reversal, and green on the day after a huge collapse below the 200. So at this point, you are brain seeded, meaning for a manipulated stock like Amazon, they're giving you signals that are false signals that are brain seeding you to think that it's gonna go higher. Well, it didn't, and you can see here. This is the 15-minute chart. This is the 15-minute trend line, and as you can see, the huge sell-off, a flush sell-off all the way to level 50% on the Fibonacci. So essentially, it went from level to level 38.2 to 50. And then at this 50 is when it recovered all the way back to 38.2. So this is a very difficult pattern or movement to actually capitalize, because at any time you get in here doing this sell off, this flush, you can easily get stopped out, because unless you are actually buying at this 50%, or waiting to buy in this 50%, and even if you bought at this 50%, most likely you're not going to hold all the way, because V-shaped recovery like this are the rarest of all technical pattern or technical movement. So if you made money on this V-shaped recovery or this V-shaped pattern, you are doing very well for yourself, because this is almost essentially anyone who plays day trading or technical trading. You're gonna get stop out on the way down, and on the way up, you're gonna somewhere along this way up, you're gonna think that's gonna go down again, so you're gonna stop out, or get squeezed out if you're trying to play the opposite direction. So V-shaped recovery, fortunately, are the rarest of the technical pattern, and funny enough, it shows at a key level for Amazon, which is here on Monday. So I was expecting technical Monday. Instead, it was a abnormal Monday. And of course, after you are brain seeded this whole recovery, you're brain seeded to think that the rally will continue a gap down. Uh, Anywhere along this point, you see how it tries to go a little bit higher. Anywhere along this point, you would think, well, let's say here, you think it's gonna go higher. Well, that's it. You're trapped. And did not low of day in, but It's also um, a large closure, or a large down day. And of course, Wednesday is low of day end. Okay, so anywhere along this path, you're gonna get flush out, low of day end, and then Thursday again, low of day end at the key technical level. Like they put it right at the key technical level on low of day end, so that you do not know whether the flush will continue or not. And of course, Friday option expiration. You know it's the monthly option expiration. You know the volatility is gonna be wicked, and yeah, what do? They go below the technical level, this key technical level. They go below it for pretty much 90% of the day until like the 2:30 mark, right here. Let's see exactly. Yeah, close enough to the 2:30 mark is when actually, yeah, above this key technical level is at the 2:30 mark, and then boom. I mean, this is a manipulation of manipulation. So I did take a loss on 600 by trying to bottom tamming, and then adding one, and then not taking a small loss. So that is uh, my worst habits of all my habits on how to lose money. The worst habits I consistently have is not taking small loss and adding one. In hindsight, like now that I look at it, stupid, because I was convinced that it was gonna rally, but during this whole slow grind, they just wear you out. I was like, oh, come on. When is it gonna move? When is it gonna move? When is it gonna move? Continue to stay below this key technical line until I pretty much gave up, like close to the point where it was gonna rally. I think it was like 220, 225, somewhere 220 something. I was convinced. I was convinced that they were gonna. Actually, I was convinced they were gonna sell it lower because it was below this key technical line, and that is what manipulation for Amazon means. This BS is not be bullshit, but it's actually mean brain seed. They brain seed you into thinking that the rally will not happen until eventually it does happen at the very last like 30 minutes of the market. And where did they bring it? Right at the 3200. Okay. So, but this 3200, which is a round even number, do not occur on every option expiration. The tendency to occur on the this type of behavior where it rallies at the end does occur on option expiration, but it is more prevalent when it is a monthly option expiration. A monthly option expiration like today, with this the August monthly option expiration, and the fact that this whole sell-off, I mean, this is a huge sell-off, and it was below this key technical level. Below this key technical level, I was convinced that it was going to rally. I was convinced. I bought the call options. I'll show you right here. I bought the call options. I added one. I was convinced it was gonna rally, and I sold out because this whole brain seed, and below this technical level, I was like, okay, it's not gonna happen. They're probably gonna sell it off at the end. Boom, rally. Like, how does that happen? And if you look at it closely at the 5 minute, you will see evidence where they actually attempt to brain seed you into thinking that it won't happen. So if you look at the 1 minute on this candle, it just boom, it just goes straight down. Like, who sells an allotment of, I don't know how much, 1K or 2K? It was between 1K and 2K. It just boom. This type of behavior where it's just essentially a gap down, a flush, a manipulated price where it just jumps down like all. If you watch it, you see, oh, a slow grind, a slow grind, a slow grind. Oh, about time it got to the VWAP, consolidation breaks the VWAP. Boom. This type of behavior, all it does is just brain seed you into thinking the rally will not happen again right here. Boom. Hits down. I was convinced it wasn't going to happen. And somewhere around here is when I cover because I was like, oh, it's coming to the end of the day. They're probably is below this key technical level. They're probably just gonna sell it off to the next, whatever it may be, low of day. Actually, I was thinking this is gonna be in low of day because Amazon was closing low of days for the last 2 days. For the last 2 days, it was closing low of days. Here's low of days closure, low of days closure. It wasn't similar to this. Had it behaved something like this, I would think, well, okay, it's gonna rally, but it was essentially here. I mean, when it's sitting right here, you got to think it's gonna close low of days because the last 2 days is closing low of days. So I was convinced. I was like, oh, it's just gonna close low of day. I take my loss, and guess what? Boom, the opposite direction. Lost out on essentially losing out on the 600, which I could have made probably. I think my average was about 31, 32, somewhere around there. And if I sold it, I could have sold it somewhere about 34, 35, and made about 400. Or at worst, cover at even and not lost to 600. Now I did make other trades, but we're not gonna talk about the other trades because I want to just point out the the manipulation of the stock market and essentially Amazon. Even though it's technical, like these key technical lines, um, Amazon display the most technical of all the technical. As far as options trading, which essentially all I do is option trading, Amazon is one of the more technical charts, technical equity to play or stock to play. However, it is under large manipulation because there is large option players on here. And I was like, wow, the volume was very big on the call size. On the calls options, it was quite big, but it wasn't going anywhere. It was not going anywhere, and you can see it wasn't going anywhere um, until the very end. Until the very end is when you actually have movements in the volume. Um, so the volume, even though it's large, it wasn't really moving the. It wasn't moving the stock because it was the a lot of the volume came at the end. Okay, when the stock is moving, it came at the end. Here you can see this is the perfect one. It came at the end, meaning these volumes came in anticipation or traders actually knew it was under manipulation, hedge funds, whatever, and then they got in, or it could be just the reaction to the price, which I don't think is the reaction to the price because, but it may be the reaction to the price. It's hard to say. Um, Actually, I was also paying attention to the volume for next week, and the volume for next week, I was really much. This was the options that I got in, and I got in somewhere around here at 32 and added one more, which is the dumbest mistake. I don't know why I continue to add one more. And if I do add one more, I should have added down here, not here. So if I added down here or somewhere down here, then I mean I could have got out flat even. Yeah, I mean not take the $600 loss at least. but I was somewhere along the line, I saw a technical signal, where it looks like it was gonna bounce, and it was just, yeah, it just went below and stayed below, and it wear me out. um just bad discipline, bad habits. One of my worst habits: not taking small loss and adding one too close to the first one. When I do add one, I need to at least be disciplined to add one, to at least put some time between it. You know what I mean? Put some time, at least an hour, at least somewhere along here. I could add one and still come out with a decent loss. At this point, I was like, yeah, 600, I'll just take the loss. The other thing that got me was these volumes that came in, like, somewhat heavy on the put side. So you got 2,500 here, you got 2,500 on the 3190, and then you got 2,000 on the 31,800. So there was volume on the put size that also blank seeded me, or tricked me into thinking that it was going to end low of days. Uh, and Amazon do close low of days or high of days. In this sense, it did not close high of day, but they closed at 3,200 because of the monthly option expiration. So you can see, I'll see if I can see another example on these monthly option expiration of a similar pattern. So let's go to the next one. Let's see what this one is here. Actually, this is the same behavior. These are brain seed signals I was telling you below. It just kept brain seeding me because it was below this key technical level, and then end of day to 3,200. Yeah, I cover, or I sold my calls, my call options, before making the money. Stupid end of day rally. So this is July, um, and of course it ended low of days. Yeah, this is ending low of days. You know, on July. And here is also the same signal, ending low of days for July. May. So May is a similar pattern, I guess. Let's see if I can zoom in on here. And you can see it didn't do anything. Sitting at the 50% until at the very end. At the very end is when it sold off, ended low of day, but also key technical level, monthly option expiration tend to end on key technical level 3,200, low of days. Um, so I was, and it's always the opposite, right? At this point, you might have thought, well, is that the 50% retracement? It probably will either close at the 50% retracement or break above it. Well, end at low of day. And here you can see low of days ended, put the target at 3,200, flush down at the 50% and closed low of day. So this was actually the reason why I covered too, because I've seen before where, at the very end it was going to sell off, and that was why I was convinced on here that it was below this key technical level. It was weak, just like here, it was weak. You see how weak it is? And then boom, but it was actually weak, but here is actually kind of strength. Like it goes the opposite. That's really what Amazon do, is that they brain seed you. So you got to anticipate the brain seed. Here it's at the 50%, showing somewhat of a consolidation pattern and the ability to break out, but nope, it's gonna close low of days at the 3200, and here, of course, the opposite, showing weakness, 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 expecting to close low of day. Boom, the opposite, 3200. Most manipulated stock out there that you have to understand. Brain seed, and what they're showing you is like a sleight of hand, a rope a dope. They're showing you false signal to make you think. This is May, low of days. Let's see if there's another one. So this is April 16th. Again, closing right at 3,400. Monthly option expiration tend to close at round even number. And I knew that. I knew that. That was something that I was thinking, okay, they're going to close at 3,200. But it just didn't happen until the very end. And it's just so frustrating that they can do that. They can show you signals where they're going to sell it off below key technical level. The minute you cover, it's like almost like they see your shares. And that's why I'm so convinced that the behavior of the stocks, or the behavior of Amazon, is that they see my options and they're going to not move it, or they're going to make it so that I lose money on it. At least I feel like that's the case. One day I'm going to try to actually think that, let's see if another situation where this type of setup, I'm just going to either hold the shares or add the shares, or maybe add just hold it. I probably won't add any more shares, because I think the more shares I add at this point, I think they won't make this rally. As funny as that sound, I do kind of believe they do see my shares. If I continue to add, call options, they're probably just gonna flush me out and go the opposite direction. It feels like that's the case. I'm not convinced that that's the case, but it just feels like that's the case. And I need to test that theory one day by having conviction. Like, today's the perfect day to have conviction to actually hold, but nope, didn't happen. Um, so where are we going forward with Amazon, actually? So, and here's the other thing I was watching. So the weekly, you can see the weekly trend was this 50%, or this 50 day moving average on the weekly was lining up right at the key technical level. So it was staying right here most of the day. It was right at this key technical. I was like, they got to move this up. They got to move it up. There's no way it's not gonna show a pattern or a signature of recovery. Well, they did, but they did it at the very end. It's so hilarious. They did it to the very end, so now you got a doji tail. I mean, without looking at the intraday chart, all you see is now at the closure. I mean, for 90% of the day, it was down here. So it was a failing signal. And then at the very last 30 minutes, boom, now it's here. Now this is the doji tail. This is the doji tail. Check that out. Doji tail, doji tail. Similar signal. Okay. Here's the other doji tail. Similar signal. This is exactly the same doji tail. So is this bullish for Amazon? Well, it typically would be bullish unless the insiders are trade selling, unless Jeff Bezos is selling his quarterly allotment, and I have not seen him sell it. So he's either gonna sell it next month, or, I mean, geez, if he's gonna sell it next week, then I don't think he's gonna sell it next week, honestly. I think he's gonna sell it next month. So we still have, if he does sell it next month, which is here starting September 6th, you're gonna see a crash in Amazon if he's gonna start selling, because there's just not gonna be enough buyers to support his allotment. So they know that, but he's gonna have to sell. So you got next week. I think it's just so it just looks like a rally, right? But how strong is the rally? I don't think it's gonna do this. This is just too soon, in my opinion. Too soon to just do it, especially when here you got the first rally, push, short squeeze, and of course the same signal. The second bigger, more massive short squeeze slash push. And this damage now is so strong. Now it's really at the low and a doji tail, doji recovery. Right, similar. This is smack dab telling you this is gonna go up. I mean, there's no way around it. If you're a chartician, if you're a technical trader, you look at this and you say it's going up. There's no way it's not gonna go up to at least this next key technical level. Especially when you got the weekly trend right now, it's support, and you can see the last time it broke below the 50-day moving average on the weekly, there was a support and then consolidation and then breakout. So expect the same, even though I don't think it's gonna happen. You gotta go with what the chart tell you. Your instinct means absolutely nothing. Whatever you believe, whatever you think means absolutely nothing when it comes to what the stock is gonna behave. You just have to follow like a robot. What does the robot, what does the algorithm sees? The algorithm definitely sees that this is a support on the weekly of the 50, just like this. Now, is it going to test the 50 again? Yes, it may test this key technical level, which is what this weekly is next week. It might test it, but you can't plan for it to break it. Even though your instinct tells you it's going to break it, you can't plan for it because at this point, it looks like it's going to either consolidate or move to the next level, regaining the 200-day. So the target has to be 3,300 next week, if not 3,300, somewhere around here on the consolidation. That's just what the chart tell you. My instinct tells me it's not gonna do it, but screw your instinct. You have to go with what the chart tells you. And so I'll just play it the way it's gonna happen, which is I'll probably just sell um, more options on both sides. So that's what I've been doing to make money, is selling both. So I sold both the 3,200 on September 3rd. I sold this one and I think I made 400 on this one, and the other one I sold it, and I came out even though I should have held on. If I held on to this for this final squeeze, I would have made another. Whew, wow, I would have made another 1,000. So that's 1,400 plus 1,000 is 2,400. So that's a decent trade. So why did I put on that trade? I did that because the VIX volume, the COB Amazon VIX volume, is what I use to determine whether I should sell the options, and hopefully it would deteriorate. And you can see when I sold the options, it was up here, so I knew it was heavy. So I knew the volatility or the intrinsic value of the options were heavy. Option expiration, you know what? I'm just gonna play it and sell both the calls and the puts. One call option, one put options, and let the time deteriorate the intrinsic value. And as you can see, had I timed it just perfectly, I would have made 1,400 plus another 1,000, but instead I made 1,400. Um, and of course I lost the 600. So I made another trade. I ended up with 900 on the plus side. Overall, the week was flat because I lost money on that V day. The V day is the recovery. I hate that one. This one was the worst. I stinking can't believe that this one right here. This one is the worst. Didn't lose a lot of money, but I still lost, you know, enough for me to end it up flat for the week. Um, so yeah, you can see how difficult it is, even though I had read the chart correctly. So next week, hopefully it will. As long as I don't lose money, I am happy on a weekly term. And I haven't lost money on a weekly term. Actually, I made money this week because I made 2,500 on my other account, um, which I don't really track that much. But so yeah, but I don't use that other account and mix it up with this account. So as long as on this account I don't lose money on the weekly basis, which is really what I've been consistently doing with this new option where I am playing more, with the risk reward. I'm still having bad habits, um, and those bad habits I just gotta clean up, and hopefully I'm not gonna load up on this account. I may load up when there are perfect scenario, where there's a push, a break, like maybe you have another signal like this, and but I really want Jeff Bezos to sell his quarterly allotment. I want to wait until he sell his shares before I play anything as far as large options. Just probably gonna stick with having small allotment for now, just to minimize risk reward. And hopefully, let's see what happens. That's it for now.